Hello and welcome to the Adrienne Ross Show. Check it out. I'm wearing my Missouri sweatshirt and I'm wearing it by design. I'm wearing it on purpose. This video is specific to Missourians. However, everybody ought to pay attention to it. Watch on YouTube or listen on a podcast platform, but you need to tune in to the whole episode. Missourians, Tuesday, August 6th is election day here, primary election day. And I'm here to tell you, you need to be sure that you get to the polls. And today, I'm going to share 4 reasons it is absolutely essential that you vote, not just in November, but on Tuesday, August 6th. So assure me that you're going to hang out for the full video. And once again, even if you don't live in Missouri, this is important for you as well. 4 reasons you need to vote. Here we go. Reason number 1. You probably have heard it over and over again, maybe to the point that it doesn't even jump out at you anymore. I'm going to give it to you anyway, and let's talk about it. Reason number 1, it is your right. It is your right to cast a vote. As Americans, I think sometimes we forget not every country in the world gives its citizens such a say as to whom they will be governed by. It's just the truth. But we, as American citizens, have that amazing right. We should not take it for granted. So that's reason number 1. It's your right to do that. It's your right to go to the polls. It's your right to say, this is what matters to me. These are the policies I support. This is the politician I support. This is the leader I want for myself and my family and my community, etc., etc., etc. It's your right. And a right means nothing if we don't exercise it. Now, listen, this is someone speaking to you. If you know anything about the Adrienne Ross Show, if you've been around for a few years, and if you know me, you certainly know. You know my story. I hated politics. I never voted until 2004. Didn't vote, didn't want to vote, didn't want to know the issues, really didn't care that it was my right. But I was wrong. And God woke me up. It is your right. Now, I'm going to say this because if you're like me, you might be thinking this. Well, I'm an American. It's my right to vote. It's also my right not to vote. And that's what I used to say. Because again, I hated politics. I used to go to church as a kid, and around election time, some politicians would come in, the preacher gave them the pulpit, they wanted to talk to you about your vote, they left, you don't see them again, you do it all over again. I'm like, can we just sing, There's Not a Friend Like Jesus? I didn't want to hear from the politicians. I said, it's my right not to vote. And I said that all the way up to 2004. And I'm right. It is my right not to vote. I don't mean I'm wrong as far as that goes. I mean, I'm wrong not to vote. Which brings me to point number 2. It is your duty to vote. Yeah, it is your duty. When I was in graduate school, when I was getting my master's, I remember a professor writing these words on a paper I had written. Don't even remember what it was about. Don't remember what the comment was in reference to, but this was the comment on my paper. Responsibility equals the ability to respond. When I have a right, I have a duty. I have a duty to exercise that right, especially when it comes to voting, when it comes to having a say, when it comes to how I get to be governed and what policies are put in place. I need to take that right responsibly. I need to exercise that right. I need to demonstrate my duty, which is seen through response. So responsibility is simply the ability to respond. And it is my duty to do that. Why? Because there were people who paid the price so that we could have the opportunity to go to the polls and vote. There are people who sacrificed and continue to sacrifice for that right, for that duty. And I don't want to take that lightly. I spent too much of my time taking that lightly before I woke up. Okay? So it's a right, it's a duty. What are you going to do with it? But here's number 3, because this is something else. If you're in the Cape Girardeau County area in Missouri, you have to attend a Guardians of Liberty meeting. They have fascinating speakers to engage, educate, and empower you. And they meet at Tuesdays at Delmonico's in Jackson. Their next meeting will be August 13th. The guest is Jeanette Finicum. The topic, Death by Labels, Murder by Government. The Lavoy Finicum story. Guardians of Liberty, 5:00 p.m. at Delmonico's in Jackson, August 13th. But here's number 3, because this is something else. It is your honor. It is your honor that you get to participate in this process. Once again, that there are, many other places you don't have that. You don't have that honor. They don't care what you have to say. Your viewpoint doesn't matter. You just deal with the cards you're dealt. And to a certain extent, we still do. But I want to do my part. Why? Because I'm honored. I'm honored as an American. I'm honored where I live locally, whatever kind of election it is. This one happens to be the primary election. We're going to talk about that in a second. But I'm honored that I get to participate in the process. And we have seen it time and time again where people think their vote doesn't matter, and they come to find out that the candidate of their choice lost by a small amount of vote. You know what? It would have been their honor. It should have been their honor to take a stand by casting that vote. It's such a small thing for you to do that has such huge rewards. So it is your right, it is your duty, and yeah, it is your honor, Missourians, to go to the polls on August 6th, on Tuesday, and cast your vote in this primary election. It's an honor, and I thank God for it. I really do. Number 4, this is my last point. Number 4, all politics is local. You may have heard that expression before. All politics is local. Some people are going to go, I'm not interested in voting on the local level or the state level. There's a lot going on in this election. I'm going to show you a sample ballot for my area shortly. But some people are like, nah, I'll deal with it. I'll deal with the federal level. And we already have our nominee in the Republican Party, and we pretty much, it's presumptive nominee in the Democrat Party with all the shakeup going on there. So I'm not really interested. Not really interested in the governor. No, not interested in lieutenant governor. No, not interested in the coroner. My goodness, no. The treasurer, I'm not interested in that. All politics is local, I'm telling you. Local politics can be dirtier than federal politics even, man. And it can be rewarding and as important. In fact, I'm going to challenge you to think about it in a different way. If you're thinking that it's not important if it's just state or if it's local or if you're county, here's what I believe. I believe that the people we often see climbing the ladder to get to the federal level, they were people who put themselves forward on the local level and managed to get up to the higher level. That's often the case. And some of those people are not the kind of people we want to see on the higher level. But because we thought it wasn't our business, because it was just, the local, county, state, whatnot, state representative, not important, you know? The treasurer, the court, they're not important. And what happens? These people get elected, and then they move up, and then they move up, and then they move up. And by the time they get all the way up there, we got one big hot mess. Why? Because we didn't recognize that all politics is local and that you've got to do your part on the lower level, the so-called lower level. Save yourself some trouble. Take care of business now. Support people now. Come out against people now who don't serve us later on as they rise up. So if we do our part now, we can weed out some of the nonsense. It's important. All politics is local. And the other thing I want to address is the fact that there are people who don't want to vote for in a primary. They're not interested in vote. This is a primary election on August. November, we have the big one. And a lot of people are saving themselves for the big one. Let me tell you, your voice matters now. I'm from New York, live in Missouri now, obviously, talking about the Missouri election. But I'm New York, born and raised, been in Missouri for several years now. But I'm a New Yorker, and I didn't vote, and I wasn't registered to vote, as I said, till 2004. Now, I could have registered to be an independent, because y'all hear me say that both parties are a hot mess. But I didn't do that. I was a registered Republican. I was a Republican because that aligns most with my values, what matters to me. And so I wasn't going to register as a Democrat. Just not going to happen. Doesn't align with my values. Registered Republican. But again, like I said, to a large extent, both parties are a hot mess. I could have been an independent, but why not? Well, in New York, if you're an independent, I don't know how all these other states do stuff, but if you're an independent, you cannot vote in the primary election. You can vote in the general election, the main election, whatever you want to call it, but you're not allowed to vote in the primary. That doesn't sit right with me. If I can't vote in the primary, then I have no say on who's left when it comes time for the big election. No, I don't want to have to vote for whatever pickings there is. I want to be the one that gets to say, gets to have a part in who I'm voting for later, right? I'm not going to just say, well, you guys, you go ahead and you do it. I mean, I get it. I'm not dissing anybody who chooses to be independent. I'm telling you why I don't choose to be an independent, and I'm tying this in with why the primaries are important. I do not want to be voting for whoever they came up with, then I'll have to choose. No, I want to be a part of whoever they came up with, and then I can vote again. So that's my point. We sometimes have the mindset that I don't want to do the research, or I'm simply not interested. That doesn't really matter. I'll wait till November. I'm not going to get involved now. It's just the primary. It's not just the primary. It determines who you'll be voting for later or not. And so I encourage you not to look at this as the lesser election. In many ways, it's the bigger election. So we need to be doing both. Okay? So wherever you stand politically, whether you are a Democrat, whether you are a Republican, however you choose to associate, whoever you agree with, get yourself to the polls. And remember, all politics is local. So you don't have to be voting for the president of the United States for it to be important, which you'll be doing in November, which is extremely important. But what about the other ones? What about who's going to represent you in Congress, whom the president will need to get anything done? How about, your local level? We're not dealing with the school board right now, but when the school board is on the ballot, what about that? That's, my goodness, that might be even more important than the presidency. Who's involved in the education of our children and setting policy and holding people accountable and being held accountable? If y'all know the mess that be going on in schools right now, you'll know that's important. Again, that's not on the ballot this time, but there are times when people are like, oh, that's not important. That's not good enough for me to get involved. It's all important, and all politics is local. Don't be trying to jump up to the presidential election if you're not willing to take care of the lower levels, the quote unquote lower levels, because it's not really lower. Okay, so I encourage you. Remember, all politics is local, and those primaries are as important, if not more important, than the election to come later. Okay, so I am going to make sure I put in the show notes how you can look at a sample ballot in Missouri, where you can go and you'll put in your address, and it'll take you to your county and what your sample ballot will look like. I know for me, I always feel better just seeing the ballot before I go into the voting booth. And maybe you feel that way too. And then I'm also going to show you right now and put the link in the show notes for those in my area, what's exactly on the ballot. I'm going to show you that right now, so you can take a look. Listen, you might be thinking, man, I wasn't planning on vote. Man, there was an election. I didn't know there was whatever. I don't know the first. So you know what? The internet is amazing. Get on the internet and do some research. Simple. Do some research. Pull up a sample ballot and then look through these things. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to those who gave you that right. It is your duty. It should be your honor. And it's just important. All politics is local. These matter. Local, state, federal, it all matters. So do a little research. And then, if nothing else, maybe you can call a friend and say, can you tell me a little bit about this person running? Bill Eigel is running for governor. He's one of the people that Trump endorsed for governor. What do you know about him? What do you think about him? So I'm going to show, like I said, a sample ballot. This is a sample ballot, but I also have the link there in the show notes, so you can go through the process of finding that and looking at the sample ballot you need. So let's take a look. Appreciate the Adrienne Ross Show audience, and I wish nothing but the best for you. But hey, sometimes things happen, and sometimes things happen with our vehicles, and sometimes that includes our transmission. So if you think something is wrong with your transmission, you need to go to DL Transmissions. It is the area's premier transmission repair facility. Check this out. They offer a free transmission inspection. So if you think your vehicle is not working right, call them today at 573-334-8726, or just stop by the shop at 783 South Kings Highway in Cape Girardeau. DL Transmissions is your best choice for quality transmission repair. Go check them out. My friends will take good care of you. Okay, so this is the sample ballot. This is for Cape Girardeau County. Again, August 6th. It's the primary election. And this first part is for the Republican Party, for United States Senator. You'll see Josh Hawley there. The governor, this long list for governor, lieutenant governor, this list here. And then you've got Secretary of State, you've got your state treasurer, your attorney general, your representative for District 8, you've got that. You've got your state senator here. You've got your state reps here. You've got state representative for different districts coming through here. You go on down, associate commissioner from different districts, your sheriff, your county assessor, your treasurer, your public administrator, your coroner. Yeah, even that's important. And there was a lot of controversy in my area about the coroner. If you think that's not important, it is important. You got your committee man, and I know some of these people who are running as well, which is pretty good when you know character. But like I said, if you don't know, you probably know people who know, or do some research. Like I know some of these people. I guess, like I said, committee people, etc. You've got all stuff. So yeah, it crosses over somewhere in here, crossed over to the Democrat. Yeah, here it is. That's what I'm saying. The Democrat Party. Here's the ballot here, the choices for Democratic Party. And again, your governor, your lieutenant governor, all that, obviously, same thing as Republicans, your Libertarian Party. You've got this, your governor, all this stuff you've got. And then we've got two amendments on the line: Constitutional Amendment number 1, Constitutional Amendment number 4, sorry, and it'll be yes or no on those. So that's just a quick look, but I'm going to put the links for you to check it out. All right. Again, It's important. And it's August 6th. Don't let anything get in the way of you getting to the polls. Don't minimize the importance of your vote, your right, your duty, your honor, and don't forget that all politics is local. When I say local, I'm also talking about the state, and I'm saying that it's not just about federal. It's not just about the presidency. It's all important, and it starts at home. All right, listen, we are growing on YouTube, The Adrienne Ross Show. We are approaching 16,000 subscribers. So if you have not subscribed on YouTube, make sure you do that. And I got to remind you that if you tend to listen on podcast platforms, then you're not catching all the content, because I'm doing quite a bit of content that's that doesn't go on the podcast platform. So you want to also subscribe to YouTube, subscribe on the podcast platforms also. And also remember, I'm a part of the BMG Network. So check the BMG Network out. That is the bmgnetwork.com and the other podcasters there. Also, remember, I'm a writer. I don't just run my mouth. I am a writer, and I put all my writing on Substack. So check me out and subscribe over at AdrienneRoss.substack.com. AdrienneRoss.substack.com. God willing, I'll catch you next time. God bless you abundantly.